Restyling is a way to refresh a model, improve its characteristics, and meet modern market requirements. However, changes are not always beneficial. Sometimes updates or generational changes disappoint fans, worsen the appearance, or make the car less reliable. In this video, we will look at 5 iconic cars that were spoiled by restyling or generational updates. Today, BMW is once again the flagship and trendsetter of automobile fashion. But back in 2001, the company was bewildered by fans caused by the ridiculous BMW 7 Series, E65. The BMW 7 Series has always been the flagship of the Bavarian brand, a symbol of prestige, technology, and dynamics. But the new 7 in the E65 body became one of the most controversial moments in the history of BMW, causing a wave of criticism and making many fans of the brand cool towards the flagship model. The new design by Chris Bangle caused a huge amount of criticism. The headlights in the rear of the car looked especially unsuccessful. The interior also changed. It was complicated to operate iDrive, which irritated owners. Despite the fact that later the E65 became better, its initial design is considered one of the most unsuccessful in the history of BMW. Before the release of the E65, the flagship BMW sedans were distinguished by elegant but restrained lines. The design was laconic and recognizable. However, with the arrival of designer Chris Bangle, BMW decided to go down the path of revolution. Huge eyes and a massive front end. The headlights became much larger, and the nose of the car looked unnaturally inflated. The rear of the car with a 2-level trunk looked like they simply forgot to draw it. It was so unexpected that even the bot journalists and editors of famous magazines did not know how to react. The E65 looked massive and strange compared to the elegant E38. BMW decided to equip the E65 with a revolutionary iDrive control system, the first multimedia system with a rotary controller. However, instead of convenience, drivers got a headache. Owners complained that even simple operations, such as adjusting the climate or turning on the radio, became complicated. Instead of convenience, BMW offered dozens of hidden menus and submenus that took hours to figure out. It was one of the first attempts to replace traditional buttons with digital interfaces, but it turned out to be so inconvenient that many buyers preferred the Mercedes S-Class, where the controls remained familiar. The BMW 7 Series, E38, is still considered one of the most reliable 7s, but the E65 turned into a real nightmare. Electronics often failed, iDrive hung, climate control worked incorrectly, and parking sensors could be triggered for no reason. The new 6-speed automatic transmission, although smooth, turned out to be difficult to maintain. Its reliability turned out to be worse, and repairs or replacement were very expensive. The hydropneumatic suspension on early versions of the E65 suffered from many problems, often required expensive repairs, and made the car capricious in operation. Radical changes and questionable quality led to the fact that traditional buyers of the 7 Series began to look for alternatives. Buyers of luxury sedans were not ready for such a bold design and complex electronics. While BMW hoped to overtake the Mercedes S-Class, the reality was harsh. The W220 sold much better. In 2005, BMW tried to fix the situation by updating the design of the E65. The headlights became neater, and the rear looked less strange. However, by then the reputation was already damaged. Next is the next difficult automotive fate. Toyota Supra transitioned from the 4th generation A80 to the 5th generation A90 in 2018. Toyota Supra 4 Malawian Kwachas, A80, is one of the most iconic sports cars of the 90s. Inspiring design, powerful 2JZ turbo engine, and huge potential for tuning made it a real legend. The car stepped into the 21st century and was supposed to remain a legend forever. But in 2019, Toyota decided to revive the Supra, but in collaboration with BMW. Under the hood was a 3.0-liter engine from BMW, B58, which, although not bad, does not have the same iconic charisma, and the interior almost completely copied the BMW Z4. Supra fans expected a new Japanese legend, but received a redesigned Bavarian car with the Toyota logo. This caused a lot of controversy, and although the car is good to drive, it is no longer perceived as a true Supra. Instead of developing the car from scratch, Toyota took the BMW Z4, G29, as a basis and simply reworked some elements. One of the features of the Supra A80 was the availability of a manual transmission. However, the Supra A90 was initially offered only with an 8-speed automatic, which disappointed fans of the brand. Expectations for the new Supra were high, but its appearance caused mixed feelings. On the plus side, the aggressive shape, low seating position, and sporty proportions were preserved, but many fans of the Supra A80 expected more classic design elements, and got something that looks more like a European sports car than a true Japanese legend. When the Supra A80 entered the market in the mid-90s, it was more affordable than its competitors and at the same time offered outstanding performance. However, with the A90, things have changed. The starting price was steep, about $50,000, which put the Supra in the same league as the Ford Mustang Shelby GT350 and Chevrolet Camaro ZL1, which had much more powerful engines. Competitors offered more for the same money. For the amount spent on the Supra A90, you could buy a Nissan 370Z Nismo, a Dodge Challenger Hellcat, or even a slightly used Nissan GTR. The old Supra was a pure Japanese car from the design to the engine design. The new A90 feels a lot like a European sports car. The 2JZ could handle over 800 horsepower without major modifications, while the BMW B58 requires much more money to boost. If Toyota had made a new Supra with its own engine and styling closer to the A80, fans would have received it much warmer. In the first years after the release, Toyota did not achieve the expected sales volumes and decided to try to change something. In 2022, they still released a version with a manual transmission, but this did not help to regain the trust of fans. Toyota Supra A90 is an objectively good sports car, but it is not destined to become legendary like its predecessor. Jeep Cherokee XJ, produced until 2001, is a legend that changed the world of SUVs. This is a cult SUV that has become a standard of cross-country ability, reliability, and versatility. With its appearance in 1984, the world received a compact but durable all-terrain vehicle with a frame-bearing body, outstanding geometry, and trouble-free engines. It combined brutal design, incredible endurance, and simplicity, which made it a favorite among car enthusiasts and off-roaders. Over 17 years of production, the Jeep Cherokee XJ has become a cult, a durable, angular shape that has become an icon among SUVs. A simple but reliable design that can be repaired literally with a hammer. Excellent cross-country ability thanks to a rigid body and well-thought-out suspension. Legendary 4.0L inline-6 engines and diesel versions, known for their endurance. What can I say? Thanks to this model, the Jeep became a household name and any frame SUV was called a Jeep. But then the era of modernization came, and Jeep decided to radically change the Cherokee. After the end of production of the XJ in 2001, the Cherokee changed several generations, but the real shock for fans was the appearance of the Jeep Cherokee KL in 2014. If the XJ and its followers retained the masculine angular style, then the KL brought something completely new to the Cherokee, a futuristic, rounded design that looked more like a crossover than a real SUV. Jeep relied on narrow LED headlights located high and large main headlights below, which looked strange and unnatural. This style was more suitable for a passenger car than for a harsh SUV. The round, smoothed lines of the Cherokee KL did not at all correspond to the brutal spirit of the XJ, which fans of the brand loved. The signature 7-section Jeep grille was redesigned and angled back, which also caused a wave of criticism among fans. The Cherokee has always been a true SUV, but with the KL, Jeep decided to make it more urban and comfort-oriented. For the first time in history, the Cherokee used a Fiat-based platform, which meant that the base versions became front-wheel drive, which was unthinkable for Jeep fans. The Cherokee KL completely abandoned the frame structure and received a monocoque body, which reduced its torsional rigidity and negatively affected its cross-country ability. Although Jeep offered all-wheel drive versions, the suspension design and ground clearance made the KL less suitable for heavy off-roading. The new generation of Cherokee faced numerous technical problems, which further undermined the confidence of buyers. Unsuccessful 9-speed automatic ZF, problems with the 2.4-liter engine, it suffered from increased oil consumption and frequent breakdowns. Owners faced multimedia failures, non-working sensors, and other problems that undermined Jeep's image as a reliable brand. The Jeep Cherokee XJ became one of the most controversial models in the brand's history. The company tried to make it more modern, technological, and urban, but this alienated the brand's loyal fans. The next car in today's top is the Toyota Crown 14, 15, and 16 generations. The car is produced for the domestic market of Japan, but the model is so popular that many are ready to drive on the right-hand drive. The main thing is that it is the legendary Crown. More precisely, its 14th and 15th generations, but the 16th is something new and incomprehensible. True fans of the brand say that that same Imperial Crown ended with the 11th generation, or even a little earlier. Then there were years of failures, and with the 14th and 15th generations, the Crown again began to win the hearts of car enthusiasts. It seemed that the designers had found the right direction and were preparing to create another masterpiece, but the 16th generation of the once legendary car appeared, and now it is difficult to distinguish it from an ordinary average Chinese sedan without a pedigree history. The model, which for decades retained its status and classic design, suddenly turned into something completely different, a crossover liftback with an unusual appearance. The 14th and 15th generations of Toyota Crown won the love of fans because they perfectly combined tradition and modern technology. These models were the perfect choice for the Japanese business class, luxurious, but not flashy, technologically advanced, but without excesses. However, with the release of the 16th generation of Toyota Crown, the brand changed course dramatically, and this caused a wave of criticism. In 2022, Toyota introduced the new 16th generation Crown, and it was no longer a familiar premium sedan, but something completely different. Instead of a traditional executive sedan, Toyota released the Crown in the format of a raised liftback with black plastic trim and increased ground clearance. The new concept looked like the Crown was crossed with a crossover, and the rear end resembled a mixture of Tesla Model S or Subaru Legacy, which looked too futuristic. The front part received thin LED strips and aggressive shapes, which made it look more like a concept car than a luxury sedan. Previously, the Crown used powerful V6 and hybrid systems, providing a smooth ride and a high level of comfort. The 16th generation instead received a turbocharged 2.4-liter hybrid, which, although offering good economy, does not correspond to the spirit of the Crown. The Royal sedan has always been a premium sedan for serious people. In Japan, it was used by politicians and businessmen, but now it has turned into a strange liftback that is difficult to fit into the usual classification. Toyota Crown fans were disappointed. They were waiting for a new prestigious sedan, but got an incomprehensible hybrid crossover with a design that breaks with traditions. Perhaps, over time, the new Crown will find its audience, but for now this is one of the most controversial updates in the history of the Japanese auto industry. Well, the last and most controversial car is the Mitsubishi Lancer. We decided to compare the sports and non-sports versions of this model, so do not judge strictly. The Mitsubishi Lancer in the 9th body is one of the most legendary sedans, which is loved by drivers for its reliability, ease of maintenance, and sporty character. However, when the company decided to restyle this model, fans were disappointed. Instead of the expected improvement and update of the iconic car, the Lancer 9 lost some of its uniqueness, and its sales began to decline. Before the restyling, the Mitsubishi Lancer 9 looked aggressive, with clear lines and a sporty character. However, the updated 2003 version received new headlights and a radiator grille, which began to look less aggressive. The modified taillights also lost their recognizable style. The body received a more modest design, which deprived the car of its individuality. Fans noted that the car became less recognizable and lost the distinctive style that the car had before the updated version. Lancer 9 was known for its handling and sporty settings. However, the restyling made changes that made the car less emotional. The car received a softer suspension. This certainly improved comfort, but the car became less responsive in turns. Also, the modified engine with improved ecology became more economical, but this led to a decrease in the sharpness of the reaction to gas. As a result, drivers who valued the dynamics and drive in this car began to lose interest in the model. The interior of the updated Lancer 9 has also undergone changes, but not for the better. The materials began to be simplified, some interior elements became lower quality, and the modified center console was not to everyone's taste. In general, the changes in the interior also made the car less unique. Now it is not a hot Japanese car with character, but an ordinary family sedan. All this was an unpleasant surprise for fans who expected an improvement in quality, but got a step back. The loss of identity was reflected in positioning and marketing. Before the restyling, the 9th Lancer was recognizable as a reliable and affordable sports sedan. However, after the update, the marketing strategy changed, and the manufacturer began to position the model as a more family sedan, removing the emphasis from its sports past. Competitors such as the Honda Civic and Mazda 3 offered more modern and attractive models, and the decline in interest in the model led to the Lancer gradually leaving the market. Instead of an aggressive and dynamic sedan, it turned out to be a compromise option that lost part of its individuality. Fans were disappointed, and sales went down, which eventually led to the legendary model gradually fading into history. This case clearly shows that sometimes it is better not to change something that has already become iconic. Friends, write your comments. What do you think about the cars from today's top? Also write, what other brands in your opinion have ruined good models with their ridiculous updates? Well, that's all for today. Thank you all for watching. If it was interesting, support the video with likes. Thank you for subscribing, and take a look at what else we have prepared for you.